There is a part of your brain that is actively working against you right now. Not a metaphor, not a feeling. A real, measurable, biological system buried deep inside your skull, and its entire function is to slow you down, hold you back, and in certain cases, push you toward your own destruction. Scientists have known about it for decades. They just never said it out loud like that, because if they did, it would force you to ask a question that most people are not ready to answer. Why did evolution build something inside you that doesn't want you to survive? Let's start with something most people completely misunderstand about evolution. We think of it as progress, a slow climb towards something better, smarter, stronger, more alive. That's not what evolution is. Evolution is not trying to make you happy. It is not trying to make you healthy. It is not even trying to keep you alive. Evolution has one goal and one goal only: pass on genetic information. Everything else is negotiable. Your happiness is negotiable. Your mental health is negotiable. Your will to live is negotiable. And here's where it gets disturbing. In 1989, a researcher named Martin Seligman was running experiments on dogs. He'd been studying something called learned helplessness, the psychological state where an animal gives up trying to escape pain, even when escape is completely possible. What he found shattered something fundamental about how we understand the survival instinct. Some of the dogs, when placed in a situation where they could easily avoid an electric shock, simply didn't. They lay down. They stopped trying. They accepted the pain, not because they couldn't escape, because something inside them had decided there was no point. Seligman called it learned helplessness. But that name hides something much darker. It wasn't learned, it was designed. Here's what neuroscience found when they went looking for the mechanism behind this. Deep inside your brain, in a region called the periaqueductal gray, there is a system that researchers now call the defeat response. It activates when your brain calculates that fighting is no longer worth it. When the cost of survival exceeds some invisible threshold only your nervous system can measure, and when it switches on, everything changes. Your motivation collapses, your serotonin drops, your body stops producing the hormones that make you want to move, to fight, to try. You feel heavy, disconnected, like something has been turned off at the source. You might recognize that feeling, because it doesn't only happen in laboratories, it happens in bedrooms, in offices. In the middle of ordinary afternoons, when nothing is technically wrong but something inside you has quietly decided, this is as far as we go. That feeling isn't weakness, that feeling is a feature. The defeat response doesn't exist by accident. It evolved. It was selected for. Generation after generation of human beings carried it in their DNA and passed it on because, at some point in our evolutionary history, giving up was the smart move. Think about what life looked like 100,000 years ago. You're in a tribe. Resources are scarce. You've been injured. You've lost a fight for status. You've been rejected from the group. In that context, the brain runs a cold calculation. If this individual keeps fighting, they will die. If they submit, go quiet, accept defeat, they survive long enough to reproduce. So your brain learned to protect you by destroying your will. It learned that the fastest path to survival was sometimes to make you stop wanting to survive fully. It throttled your own drive, on purpose. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody talks about. The defeat response is triggered not just by physical danger, not just by predators or injury or starvation. It's triggered by social pain, being ignored, being rejected, being perceived as low status. Losing an argument, being publicly embarrassed, scrolling through someone else's life and feeling like yours doesn't measure up. Your brain cannot tell the difference between being exiled from a tribe 80,000 years ago, which was a death sentence, and being unfollowed on social media. It runs the same program. It fires the same ancient defeat mechanism, which means every time you shrink in a meeting, every time you don't send the message, every time you look at your life and feel like something fundamental is missing, that's not you being broken. That is your prehistoric survival software running a script that was written for a world that no longer exists. And this is where it stops being just neuroscience and starts becoming something more disturbing. Because if the defeat response is a feature, not a bug, then what does that say about the things you've never done? The version of you that never started? The dream you quietly let die? The moment you chose comfort over the thing that terrified you? Was that your choice? Or was that 100,000-year-old algorithm making a risk calculation in the background of your consciousness, without your permission, telling you this is not worth the cost? How much of what you call your personality is actually just your nervous system playing it safe? Here is what the most recent research suggests. People who manage to override the defeat response don't do it through motivation, they don't do it through willpower, they don't do it by wanting it more. They do it by understanding that the signal is lying, not maliciously. The system isn't cruel, it's just old. It was built for a reality where the cost of failure was death, where social rejection was extinction, where the safest move was always to go quiet and disappear. It doesn't know about your life. It doesn't know about your goals. It doesn't know the difference between the fear of dying and the fear of starting a YouTube channel. It just knows the threshold has been crossed, and it starts shutting things down. There is a part of you that is ancient, that is tired, that has been running the same protective program since before language existed. It doesn't want you to fail. It genuinely believes it's saving you, but it's been saving you from the wrong things for a very long time. The question isn't whether this system exists inside you. It does. It's there right now. The question is, who's in charge? You? Or something that stopped updating 100,000 years ago?